Michael Jackson is freed in a mother like little boys and I'm supposed to be excited. Michael, I know I'm supposed to be happy because he used to be black. I know, I remember. Michael forgot he was a he forgot he was.
But then Michael Jackson comes along and he breaks the mold, doesn't he? Because he's not an ugly bloke outside the school. I'm not saying Michael Jackson definitely was a paedophile. No, it's only Michael and all those people he paid off. All I'm saying is that kids loved Michael. Kids loved Michael just to look at him, like a little Disney cartoon, wasn't he? And then his voice, hello.
Y'all ever hear the story about Jay-Z doing the Summer Jam, bringing Michael out?
Of course.
Which story?
That's because of me.
Yeah, we've heard stories. But
no, he brought Michael out at Summer Jam. Yeah. That doesn't happen without me introducing him to Michael.
Break it down. Yeah,
Jay-Z wants to meet Michael.
The internet is exploding right now, and the shockwaves are rattling the very foundations of the entertainment industry. Hollywood is whispering in the shadows, moving in a state of absolute panic as a multi-decade narrative begins to fracture in plain sight. Something darker may be unfolding beneath the glitz and glamour of music royalty, and what started as a simple rumor among industry insiders may now be something much bigger, much more dangerous, and entirely unstoppable. For years, we have been fed a meticulously crafted version of pop history. We were told who held the cards, who pulled the strings, and who sat undisputed on the throne of cultural influence. But according to intense online speculation and a sudden wave of frantic digital digging, that entire history is being challenged. Some insiders claim that behind the closed doors of billionaire enclaves and high-stakes boardrooms, a quiet war was fought for the very soul of the music business. Unverified reports suggest that the power dynamics we took for granted were actually flipped on their head, leaving some of the biggest icons of our generation completely paralyzed with fear. Fans believe that a series of explosive, unfiltered comments from two of the most unapologetic voices in comedy have accidentally pulled back the curtain on a legendary industry rivalry. When Katt Williams went on his now infamous Truth Tour, shaking the industry to its core, he dropped breadcrumbs that sent internet detectives into a frenzy. Almost simultaneously, a resurfaced, biting monologue from Gervais seemed to align perfectly with these cryptic warnings. The target of this sudden, massive wave of speculation, none other than the blueprint of modern hip-hop royalty, Jay-Z. The question driving millions of views across social media right now is simple yet terrifying. Why do some of the sharpest minds in comedy hint that the most powerful mogul in hip-hop was utterly terrified of the king of pop, Michael Jackson? This is not just about music. This is about absolute control, hidden legacies, and the terrifying price of standing in the shadow of a true global titan. To understand the sheer magnitude of this alleged silent war, we have to go back to an era when the landscape of entertainment was being radically redefined. On one side, you had Michael Jackson. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, Jackson was no longer just a pop star. He had transcended the medium of music entirely to become a walking, breathing sovereign state of cultural power. He possessed a terrifying level of global influence that could sway masses across continents with a single tilt of his fedora. But beneath the spectacular stage shows, a shift was happening. Jackson was actively pulling his assets away from the traditional system. He owned the legendary ATV music catalog, which famously included the crown jewels of the Beatles, a move that made him an extreme target for the corporate machine. He was a man who understood the ultimate power of ownership, and he wielded it like a weapon. On the other side of this unspoken divide, a new titan was rising from the concrete streets of New York. Jay-Z was systematically building an empire defined by corporate integration, masterful networking, and a ruthless pursuit of absolute industry dominance. He was the definitive architect of the modern mogul blueprint, transitioning from a brilliant lyricist into a brilliant businessman who moved effortlessly through the highest corridors of financial power. He was becoming the new gatekeeper, the man whose nod of approval could make or break an entire generation of emerging talent. For years, their public relationship appeared entirely pristine, almost reverent. On the surface, it looked like a beautiful passing of the torch between two generations of historical black excellence. In 2001, at the height of his critical acclaim, Jay-Z famously brought Michael Jackson out on stage at the Hot 97 Summer Jam concert. The crowd went completely feral. It was a cultural masterstroke that instantly validated Jay-Z's status as a top-tier legend while showing a deep, public respect for the king of pop. They even collaborated behind the scenes, with Jackson contributing uncredited, ethereal background vocals to Jay-Z's hit track, Girls, Girls, Girls. To the average fan, it was a partnership born in hitmaker heaven. The narrative was perfect, polished, and presented as a symbol of absolute unity. But online theorists are now pointing out that beneath this flawless veneer of mutual admiration, major cracks were quietly forming. According to emerging industry speculation, Michael Jackson was not a man who could be easily integrated into anyone else's corporate ecosystem. He operated on a completely different frequency. Some insiders claim that Jackson viewed the rising class of music executives and moguls not as peers, but as individuals who were willingly operating within a system he was actively trying to dismantle. Jackson's philosophy was rooted in absolute, untouchable independence, while the new guard relied heavily on corporate compliance and strategic alliances with major media conglomerates. As Jay-Z's power grew, so did his need to control the cultural narrative around his empire. But you cannot control a narrative when there is a living, breathing god of entertainment who can completely eclipse your entire existence with a single public appearance. The theory suggests that as long as Michael Jackson was alive and plotting his next massive industry move, no one else could truly claim ultimate ownership over the cultural landscape. Jackson was a wild card with an unparalleled global network, an autonomous fortune, and a deep understanding of how the industry operated behind closed doors. Fans believe that this stark contrast in ideologies created a deep, unspoken tension that vibrated through the upper echelons of the entertainment world, setting the stage for a dramatic clash of empires that the public was never supposed to see. The quiet murmurs in the dark eventually exploded into a raging firestorm across the digital landscape. It all started when internet sleuths began connecting the dots between various late-night comedy sets, podcast appearances, and cryptic interviews that seemed entirely unrelated on the surface. Online rumors began to spread like wildfire, claiming that certain unverified leaks from old studio sessions revealed a much more competitive, cutthroat relationship between Jackson and the Rock Nation, founder than anyone ever admitted. Social media reactions reached a fever pitch as fans began dissecting every single lyric, look, and public interaction between the two camps. The escalation truly intensified when the online community re-examined Katt Williams' explosive commentary on the nature of Hollywood gatekeeping. While Williams didn't explicitly lay out a step-by-step conspiracy, his terrifyingly candid warnings about industry power players who protect their empires at all costs sent shockwaves through the community. Some fans think that Williams was subtly referencing a specific period in the mid-2000s when Michael Jackson was allegedly planning a massive, independent comeback that would have bypassed traditional distribution networks entirely. The theory suggests that if Jackson had successfully pulled off this independent model, it would have completely devalued the corporate structure that modern moguls had sacrificed everything to build. Industry whispers began to circulate on private message boards, with unverified reports suggesting that certain high-level executives were deeply terrified of Jackson's impending "This Is It" residency, not just because of the music, but because of the revolutionary business model he was rumored to be launching alongside it. To add fuel to the fire, internet commentators dragged a legendary Ricky Gervais moment back into the spotlight. Known for his scorched earth approach to hosting Hollywood award shows, Gervais has spent years mocking the absolute terror that celebrities feel when their pristine public images are threatened with the truth. The community began weaponizing Gervais' past jokes about elite industry circles, suggesting that his biting humor was actually a direct commentary on the desperate lengths to which modern icons will go to maintain their illusions of absolute power. The narrative circulating across TikTok and YouTube argued that Gervais and Williams were two sides of the same coin, men who were explicitly telling the public that the hierarchy they see on television is a carefully managed lie. Of course, it is absolutely vital to emphasize that there is no confirmed evidence whatsoever to support these extreme theories. They exist entirely within the realm of digital speculation, built by passionate fan communities who spend hours looking for hidden meanings in old footage. Yet the lack of official validation did absolutely nothing to slow down the momentum of the exposé. Theorists pointed to the stark difference in how Jackson handled his business compared to the rest of the industry. Jackson was known to buy up publishing rights, secure massive catalogs, and directly challenge corporate boards. The rumor mill argued that Jay-Z, despite his immense wealth and undisputed brilliance, was operating within a predefined box, whereas Jackson routinely smashed the box entirely. Some online analysts claim that this made Jackson an existential threat to the stability of the entire music aristocracy. If the king of pop decided to expose how the industry truly functioned behind the scenes, or if he chose to back a rival distribution system, the empires of the modern moguls could have collapsed overnight. The internet became a battleground of ideas, with millions of users debating whether the apparent reverence shown to Jackson during his final years was actually a calculated effort to keep a dangerous titan close, rather than an expression of genuine love. The tension finally reached a chaotic breaking point during a viral live stream event that sent the entire online community into absolute meltdown. A prominent hip-hop culture commentator was hosting a standard late-night stream, discussing historical rap rivalries, when an anonymous user dropped a series of highly specific timecodes into the chat. These timecodes pointed directly to a series of old, forgotten interviews and deleted social media posts from individuals who were deeply embedded in the music scene during the late 2000s. As the streamer clicked through the links in real time, the energy of the broadcast shifted instantly. The casual, joking tone evaporated, replaced by a heavy, palpable silence that hung over the thousands of viewers watching live. The screen showed a clip of an emotional, raw interview with a former audio engineer who had worked closely with both camps. In the video, the engineer described a specific atmosphere of absolute paranoia that gripped the studio whenever Michael Jackson's name was brought up. He claimed that the mere mention of Jackson's upcoming business ventures would cause high-ranking executives to completely freeze, abruptly ending meetings and demanding that all recording devices be shut off immediately. Simultaneously, internet detectives unearthed a cryptic, long-deleted tweet from a prominent industry insider that simply read, "They think they run the town, but the ghost of Neverland still holds the deeds to the whole city. They are terrified of what happens when he speaks." The discovery of this deleted digital artifact caused fan reactions to trend globally within minutes. The hashtag The Shadow Kingdom began dominating timelines as users scrambled to download and archive the stream before it could be taken down. The chat was moving at a terrifying speed, filled with a mixture of shock, confusion, and growing anxiety. You could literally feel the collective realization wash over the audience that they might be looking at something far more intense than a standard celebrity rumor. The emotional weight of the moment was amplified by the streamer's visible distress. He openly admitted on camera that he was hesitant to keep diving deeper into the rabbit hole, citing fears of sudden copyright strikes or losing his channel entirely. The digital space transformed into a pressure cooker of suspense. Fans began posting side-by-side video comparisons of Jay-Z's facial expressions during various public tributes to Michael Jackson after his tragic passing in 2009. Online body language experts weighed in, claiming to detect signs of intense stress, tightly controlled anxiety, and a profound sense of relief masked as grief. Every single frame of archive footage was dissected with agonizing detail. The online community was completely captivated by the idea that a modern billionaire, a man celebrated worldwide for his unshakable coolness and absolute composure, could have been haunted by the sheer, unmanageable presence of another artist. The atmosphere across social media was no longer just curious. It had become emotionally intense, frantic, and desperate for some form of official clarity that everyone knew would never actually come. In the wake of this massive, uncontrolled digital explosion, the entertainment industry's reaction was nothing short of fascinating. Instead of issuing standard, aggressive public relations denials or launching highly visible legal counters, the major power players went completely, chillingly silent. Brands that typically jump on every single viral trend to maximize their social media engagement suddenly acted as if the controversy didn't exist at all. This absolute wall of silence only served to convince theorists that the digital investigation had struck an incredibly sensitive nerve deep within the Hollywood elite. Public figures who were normally incredibly active online began posting highly cryptic quotes about the nature of truth, the fleeting illusion of power, and the historical reality that nothing stays buried forever. A well-known associate of the Rock Nation camp shared a simple, black and white image of a chessboard on their Instagram story with no caption, a move that internet sleuths immediately interpreted as a silent acknowledgement of the high-level psychological war being discussed across YouTube. Then came the quiet wave of digital decoupling. Independent researchers noticed a sudden, quiet flurry of social media unfollows among high-level music executives, managers, and major artists. Individuals who had spent